take us through what it's been like for you in the House, having passed COVID relief bills, massive COVID relief bills, months ago that have been ignored by Mitch McConnell. And now we're going through this process where Mitch McConnell continues to ignore the best efforts made by everyone else trying to solve this problem.
You know, it's not just what I've been going through as a member of Congress. I just want to see what I've been going through personally. You know, you talked at the beginning about Mitch McConnell not crying today. Well, I cried today because my grandmother is dying of COVID-19. And she's dying because of people not taking responsibility for this pandemic. So it's just disgusting to me that Mitch McConnell will not allow a bipartisan compromise to move forward because he wants to give away goodies to huge corporations.
Let me just, Congressman, please go back to your grandmother for a moment. I'm very sorry to hear about her condition. Where is she, and how long has she been sick, and what are you hearing about her condition tonight?
She's in Iowa, where she was born and has lived her whole life. She's 94 years old, and she was transferred to the hospital, and we elected to have her put into hospice. And so she's receiving comfort measures and will pass away in the upcoming days of COVID. And in the meantime, I'm getting phone calls from constituents who've lost loved ones. I'm hearing stories about workers who are scared to go to work because they don't have enough PPE. I'm putting food into trunks of cars to help people at food banks. This is the epidemic in America. It's an epidemic of COVID. It's an epidemic of hunger. It's an epidemic of housing insecurity. You know what? It's not an epidemic. It's not an epidemic of lawsuits. And any effort by Mitch McConnell to suggest that that is happening is flat out lying to the American people.
Let me ask you, as a former law professor yourself, about a technical point here that isn't clear to me. How would federal legislation control civil lawsuits within the 50 states, each of which have different rules for civil lawsuits within those states?
That concept is called preemption. And what it basically does is that when the federal government passes a law, in this case, the proposal from Mitch McConnell is to allow corporations to act as recklessly as they want and to not be on the hook if people get COVID and die as a result of their recklessness. And so the federal law would override the state law. Now, you know, it's interesting to think about this. I've been thinking a lot today about my tort class in law school, where I learned about how these rules about employer liability came to be. We put these rules in place because corporations, particularly at the time railroads, were allowing their workers to get maimed, to be killed, and not engaging in any kind of reasonable safety precaution. So we adopted the standard we have now. So if businesses are following reasonable rules, state public health guidelines, they're not going to face any liability. There is no epidemic of liability. In fact, there are more lawsuits, baseless lawsuits brought by Trump about this election than there have been medical malpractice or personal injury lawsuits relating to COVID-19. So Mitch McConnell is in search. This is not a problem. This is simply about giving his corporate donors what they want. So when I listen to you talk about Steve Schmidt, and he's talking about this conspiracy to keep, his words, a conspiracy to keep in power, I think it's really important to peel back. Keep who in power? And the answer is the nation's largest corporations who want a green light. They basically want a license to kill without any liability.